Yeah? Okay, great. Imagine you are a semester away from graduating with your bachelor's degree, and you have your first job interview scheduled. The interview is online, so you get appropriately dressed from the waist up. You open your laptop computer, log on, and see a static picture and hear a synthetic voice. You're being interviewed by artificial intelligence, not a human. And for each question asked, a 2-minute timer appears on screen. The interview ends in a very efficient 15 minutes. This is not some AI experiment. This is happening today. And to understand the gravity of this developing trend, we need to revisit life during the pandemic. In particular, think about how we attended school. Learning was a challenge. It was blatantly obvious just by looking at my son's computer screen, when about 25% of the squares were just names. No smiley, sleepy, or bored faces. Educators had their learning objectives for sure, and they did their absolute best to facilitate that transfer of knowledge. While students may have passed their courses, a critical element of the educational experience was left behind: the hidden curriculum. The hidden curriculum encompasses the implicit cultural and social norms communicated to students throughout their academic career. These are the attitudes, beliefs, and values that are transmitted through the culture and structure of your educational institution. But no matter how strong of a transmitter your institution might have, the hidden curriculum simply could not break through the bezel of a laptop monitor. Through no fault of their own, students lost these informal opportunities to observe, learn, and practice the unspoken rules of social interaction. Today, students are making up for lost time. My campus is brimming with activity. Business clubs host informal networking sessions, resume workshops, and formal functions like Meet the Firms. Whenever a student comes to my class and asks to promote their particular club event, I gladly oblige. I pull up their flyer on screen, I position myself far away from the podium, and I fully give my student the floor. Some come prepared with a rehearsed opening, but I am always filled with a sense of pride as I watch my students promote their event with poise and confidence, especially knowing about the hidden curriculum that they missed out on just a few years ago. Still others are fully embracing their curiosity by staying after class and asking me career-related questions. I get nervous when presenting to my manager. Any advice? Or how do I answer this interview question? And I say, the STAR methodology. And they reply back, what's the STAR methodology? Now, don't tell my department chair this, but I actually enjoy answering these career-related questions more than the subject ones. And I did some reflecting, and I realized that this affinity traces back to when I was in school. Growing up in a small town in Hawaii meant that you kind of knew everybody. You were destined to run into your neighbors, your friends, and even your teachers at the grocery store. A memory that is forever imprinted in my mind was a time when I was in the 3rd grade, and I was out sick for about a week. Mrs. Saito came over to my house to deliver my assignments, for sure, but she also came with some snacks and, most importantly, her care. Now again, it's a small town. She probably lived just a mile down the road. It wasn't a far drive. But the depth of her care was beyond any measured distance. And the message was clear to me that day. Do not neglect your work, but have empathy. And that single moment helped to shape my identity, and it underscored the importance of having empathy as an educator. I share this story because identity is especially important to university students. Now, my students are in the process of redefining their professional identity, whether it's undergraduate, capstone, or MBA students. They are all undergoing a transformation. But this journey is being disrupted, digitized, and decomposed to zeros and ones as they're being judged by an algorithm. I hear the unsettled tone and see the minor twinges of discomfort as describing what it's like to be interviewed by a program. When asked if they received a follow-up request for a second interview, one student said no, but it clearly did not bother them. Another student said yes, but they declined that opportunity. I have students who apply to hundreds of internships and jobs over the course of the academic year. They're tired, but they are resilient, and they refuse to let this experience degrade their identity. This exchange between student and professor is through one lens. The other lens I have is that of a product manager, and that affords a different perspective. I can clearly see the problem. The unrelenting job market is a challenge for employers too. Hundreds of applications swarm onto a single job posting. Already stretched talent acquisition teams are sometimes just a team of one. So when you factor in all these conditions, it is no surprise that we have the AI interviewer. But if you zoom out a little, you can see 3 specific dots. The first dot to observe is that the AI interviewer is just a piece of software that has features and functions like any other piece of software. Think of your phones. When a new version of iOS is released, there might be some new features or some fun emojis. The second dot to observe is social media. You have Instagram and YouTube full of influencers that likely give you the best practices on interviews and tips. If you have an interview with a well-known company, there is someone who can tell you what to expect in that interview. A third dot to observe is the AI subject matter expert. Whenever there's a new version of Claude, Gemini, or Perplexity that is released, these AI subject matter experts will record a video, publish that, and talk about all the newest features and capabilities. Now, what happens when you combine all 3 points? You have an influencer who specializes in a specific version of AI interviewer software. And let's say this influencer releases a new video. What might the headline sound like? Maybe something like this. XYZ company just released the latest version of their AI interview agent. I applied to 10 jobs, got 7 interviews. Here are the 5 things you need to say to pass that interview. From here, the question changes from who is my interviewer to what is my interviewer. No LinkedIn profile to look up, no rapport to establish. That hidden curriculum can stay hidden. It's not needed here. Now, I agree, the AI interviewer is very efficient. It is neither tethered to a time zone, nor is it bothered by a bathroom break. But I also argue that this efficiency comes at a cost. Interviewees may begin to experience a sense of disposability and expendability. In our ongoing research on how AI affects organizational behavior, my colleagues and I periodically ask ourselves, at what point will organizations need to invest in rehumanization efforts? Rehumanization. For those of you responsible for training and development, how much of your 2027 budget will you allocate towards rehumanization programs? My guess is $0, and I think we can keep it that way. Preserving the dignity of job applicants will be a collective responsibility. So I propose that students, faculty, and businesses form the interview collective. More than a professional development club that holds resume workshops, the interview collective can be a campus-wide interdisciplinary group, since the AI interviewer is not limited to a specific industry. Imagine computer science students helping to explain how these AI interviewers ingest and process your data, or psychology students describing the myriad of emotions you experience after being interviewed by a program. The interview collective is 100% human. Students, you can capitalize on the immediacy of the collective. The AI interviews are programs and likely don't care that you take the interview on campus in a conference room. Once the interview is done, debrief with fellow collective members. Share your experiences while they are fresh in your memory. Support the challenges, celebrate the wins, build a library of stories for others to learn from. Faculty, who is your Mrs. Saito? Who helped to shape your identity as an educator? Let's allocate a little more time to support our students who are transitioning to a professional life and redefining their identity. Carve out special office hours to host the collective members so that they can practice giving each other empathetic feedback. Leverage your vast knowledge of leadership and organizational behavior to provide microdoses of guidance and wisdom. In companies, one constant through my time teaching is that students appreciate understanding the why behind grades and decisions. From that experience, I suspect that students would welcome you to the collective. Share anonymized examples of how your AI scores candidates, detail why these programs are necessary, ideate on possible solutions. Dignity can begin to take root today through collaboration and transparency. The collective is not meant to resist change. Rather, it's meant to protect dignity, support one another, and ultimately deliver higher quality candidates to companies. Together, we can spend less time burning tokens and more time building trust. Thank you.